welcome to Plume's Tokenized Talks. Today's our first episode. My name is Teddy. We got Luke over here from Auction Labs.
Hello.
And today we're at, the beautiful course at 5 Iron.
Yeah, this is a treat. I feel like I've played this course in real life. It actually does look exactly like this, which is super cool.
Way.
But yeah, I mean, they get the visuals kind of right on the screen. But we have some awesome guests today, so wanted to hand it off to them. So we have Meredith and Vinh. If you guys want to make a quick intro on yourselves.
Hey, yeah, thanks so much for having us. We're so excited to be here. I personally am not a golfer, so probably not going to take any of the shots from me, but we're going to do a lot of fun talking about tokenization. So I'm Maredith Hannon. I lead business development for WisdomTree's digital assets business, and I've been here for 2 years, and I think we'll talk about our intros and all that, but looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Meredith. And I'm Vinh Tran. I'm on the business development team with Meredith. Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to hit some shots and see where the conversation takes us.
It's no secret WisdomTree, you guys are doing great things in the tokenization space. How did you guys really get into, blockchain in general?
Yeah, so WisdomTree has such an interesting history and heritage also just because of who we are as an ETF issuer. So we have over $100 billion in assets globally, and really what we started from was we're a firm of firsts. So we have so many innovative products, and our CEO, who is also our founder, asked a question about 4 or 5 years ago, what will do to ETFs what ETFs did to mutual funds? Meaning, what's the next evolution? How can we think about continuing to push our business forward and really be entrepreneurial and innovative, which is how we started. So we started about 4 years ago, and it's been a really, really great journey. And if you really think about tokenization compared to ETFs, it's a lot of the same principles, whether it's liquidity, whether it's standardization, transparency, obviously. So all of those same types of ethos and same mindset can definitely be applied to this emerging tech. So we're excited about the future, and we definitely feel like we're on the forefront. And we have a full suite of products that we think can really deliver to this new community that needs it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and we've been tracking your guys' progress, and super excited to dive into the products more later today as well.
Yeah, and that's super cool, and seeing what you guys have done in the industry, from your Prime product to Connect, and we'll chat more about that and everything. But it's really cool seeing you guys thriving and doing well, and then continuing to innovate.
Yes, and I think that's a big part of who we are is the innovation piece of it, and saying how can we think about going through the front door per se of especially from a regulation standpoint, how do we build products that are safe, they're secure, they still have the same fundamentals that our existing products do, but bring this to a new community where, and we don't have to talk about past events, but we all know what I'm talking about, where that's really something that was missing in the market. So very, very focused too on just solving problems. And I think that's a really big key versus, putting product into the market and hope that people come versus really orienting yourself to say, what would I need as a consumer, or what is there a problem in the market, and how do we solve for that? So it's definitely a different approach, and one that's been really successful for us so far. So
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Thinking about things from the problem first, as opposed to, I think, a lot of the times in in the real world asset space, people are just tokenizing a bunch of assets and just hoping that demand will be met, and people will come in and buy these assets. But you really need to think about what do consumers need, what do institutions need right now, and I think your guys' approach is definitely the right one.
And this is a question I'm sure that you also get this too, is around, can't we tokenize everything?
Yeah,
Why can't we tokenize everything? I remember I was on, and it was with a group of advisors, and someone said, well, could you tokenize half of my beach house?
My God.
Sure. But what are you going to do with that?
Yeah,
There's not a market for that. Why would we do that? But sure, could you tokenize anything? Could you tokenize this golf simulator
That
right now?
timeshare I can't get rid of. Can
Right,
I
exactly.
tokenize that? I get rid of it.
But if there's not a market, then there's not going to be any demand for it. So sure, you could tokenize it, but is that really going to give you any sort of benefit? So to your point about being very much solution-oriented and product-first, I think it's so important. You see that across whether it's real-world assets from a financial services perspective, or whether you're looking at the real estate market, whether you're looking at the art market. There's a lot of different ways to approach different problems where this technology can solve a lot of different problems, even just beyond trading. So I think that's why it's so popular. We were talking about before why there's a conference or 10 every week that people are talking about.
Every other day now there's a conference.
So kicking back into it, I wanted to ask you, Teddy, both of you actually at some point, but Teddy, why don't you go first? What do you see for the future of digital assets?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. For us, the way we see is, the future of digital assets and crypto really is just, real world assets in general, and just like basically being able to tokenize different types of assets and putting them on the blockchain for, all the benefits that, they can bring. And I think, traditionally, or like at least historically, I think, over the last few years, we were at a very important time where I think off-chain yields were higher than on-chain yields, and in order to keep your wallet growing and going through like the DeFi process, basically a lot of protocols, their APYs and their yields were lower than like what the treasury was giving you on chain, for example. So I think it was a pretty pivotal moment in time where we saw a lot of TVL kind of move into these types of treasury type products that were tokenized on chain. So if you think of like Ondo and like different types of private credit protocols, they really started bringing RWAs onto the scene. But now I think we're at a very interesting point in time as well, because now people are looking for other ways to utilize their real world assets. And I think traditionally like tokenized treasuries, private credit, they're great, but there's not much, mobility within these assets. There's not much composability. You can't really use them throughout the DeFi ecosystem. So what we're seeing now, especially from a Plume perspective, is really a scene where composability is pretty key. And so we have a lot of different DeFi protocols building on us that are working with our RWA type protocols, which we like to call RWA-Fi, to basically create these different use cases that the on-chain audience is used to. Because the on-chain audience today is still more crypto, I'd say, than TradFi. So if you give them use cases that they're used to, such as like borrowed lending, trading, speculating, these types of use cases that we're creating, specifically on Plume, is really geared towards like the future of RWAs in general.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that kind of picks back on Meredith's point, like about, what type of tokenizing everything and this liquidity fragmentation. But it sounds like you guys are taking active steps to make sure it's composable, right? That the sort of has an ecosystem of DeFi within RWAs that can funnel those assets around.
Yeah,
which is really cool. Okay, yeah. For Meredith, I want to ask you the same thing.
Yes. Well, and I would love to add on to what, because I think you're absolutely right, especially for the crypto community today is on chain, and to what we were saying before about actually delivering solutions for them. And I'm going to take one really, really big step forward, which is I think we're all here too around the democratization and access, though, of assets too. And I think as an industry, that's what we're building towards, but that starts with the on-chain community. And then the more and more that we can build, whether it's products, whether it's platforms, and then slowly but surely really abstract away the difficulties of blockchain. And I think this gets to your point around composability too, to enable builders to be able to do that. I think that's where more and more people coming on chain is going to seem so natural and behind the scenes that they're going to have no idea that they're actually interfacing with a WisdomTree Prime, with a Plume Spot, with anything that's built. And that's then going to bring more participants into the market, make it more efficient, and we're actually going to see those benefits that we talk about. And we're at that point where we're starting to realize a lot of those, but it's going to take volume over time. So I think that's something that part of the question of what's not working and what is working is definitely mainstream adoption isn't there yet, but I think as more platforms and more products are built, we're going to get there over time. And I think the big point is meeting the demands for the on-chain community. At the end of the day, we're consumers, we're investors. A lot of the same types of issues are going to be relevant for mainstream adoption as well.
Yeah. Teddy, how do you see how is this powering the democratization of finance? What are you guys doing on Plume that's trying to include all users?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically what we're creating on Plume is a DeFi ecosystem that pretty much mimics what normal DeFi ecosystems look like, except RWAs are under the hood. And I think the reason why this is pretty innovative is because traditionally, like I kind of mentioned earlier, you couldn't really trade RWAs. Once they were on chain, they were always just sitting in your wallet, and you were just holding the assets there, and there wasn't much composability there. So what we've done is actually worked with different borrowed lending protocols, different perp dexes, different AMMs to basically create these different trading and looping strategies to put leverage on the assets that you might be holding. So to give you an example, we have a few different DeFi protocols on us that are similar to an Aave v3 fork or a Compound v4 fork, where you can basically borrow one stablecoin, basically collateralize it, borrow against it, and then keep on looping throughout the DeFi ecosystem. Take one asset from another protocol and basically, add on to your existing yield that you were initially holding for, that specific asset. So I think in that sense, it's been pretty interesting. Over the last few weeks, a lot more enterprise, institutional type folks have been asking us what's your stablecoin strategy? What's your distribution strategy? And once we kind of talked them through how we were thinking about specifically DeFi looping within the RWA space, a lot of them wanted to become part of our stablecoin composition, which we're creating on Plume specifically. So I think it's basically I would say creating something more innovative in the RWA space and just taking it one step further than just traditionally just holding assets in your wallet.
Yeah, and that kind of I would say the stablecoin piece is. One way you're addressing composability as well, right? You're able to create this composition you're talking about. Can you shed more light on that?
Yeah, so it's we're still basically finalizing the composition right now, but the idea is that as a user, if you're bridging on the Plume, there'll be two types of stablecoins that you can kind of mint. One is just a more holistic stablecoin that where under the hood we have USDT, USDC, non-yield bearing stablecoins, but on the other end we have a stablecoin that we're still working through right now. But the idea is we have a bunch of yield bearing stablecoins under the hood that we're working with. I can't name all the names right now, but there's a few of the larger institutions and enterprises that are working with us. And the idea is let's say you put $100 to mint a Plume stablecoin, 20% of it can go into one stablecoin, 20% can go to another. So we're just creating a basket. We're creating one stablecoin against a basket of others. And the benefits of having these stablecoins kind of aggregated in one spot is that if you're looking at a DeFi ecosystem and looking at the different protocols you need to trade on or collateralize your assets on, this way if we have less assets, we're actually not siloing the liquidity as much throughout the ecosystem, and it makes it easier for specific assets to really flow through. And honestly, it makes it easier for the user to create different trading and looping strategies that I really liked back when I was always in DeFi. So being able to do this, with RWAs on their hood, I think is really innovative and the next step.
Yeah, totally. Looping strategies, I think, are core to DeFi, and being able to tap into that. It's something that is native and people understand well.
Bringing this new utility, I think that's what we're really focused on too, is thinking about. So in our retail app, WisdomTree Prime, we have a money market fund attached to a debit card that you can then spend off of. And because of tokenization, it pretty much collapses the value chain. So now you have all of these tokens. Think about whether it's stable coins, to your point, so a utility case that would be really cool for you to talk about, just the new use cases of that, because I think that's a huge market and kind of the no-brainer, low-hanging fruit, right, for this. It's payments, it is so many different, exactly. Just even the underlying differences to your point around yield bearing versus not. All of those are, I think, really fascinating. But also think about, so you have stable coins, cash equivalents, gold. If we wanted private equity, treasuries, and an equity fund can all sit within not only the same basket, but imagine on the same value chain, and then can be spent off of each other, can be swapped for each other, can be used for a collateral for each other, where there's not this need to go out of one asset into fiat, back into another. And that's where, not only from an efficiency perspective, but it opens up the world of possibilities for how you can think about your cash, your assets, your portfolio. And I think all of that is really, really exciting. So whether it's on the retail side, 100%. What I was saying with WisdomTree Prime and that money market fund example of being able to earn a yield until the moment that you swipe your Visa card and buy a cup of coffee, what a great benefit and utility to the end customer. Or if it's on the institutional side, as we start to think about my example of not having to go off of chain, not having to get out of, into fiat, to then send money to a brokerage, to then buy underlying treasuries. How do we just make it easier and just more efficient? And I think all of us can think of a few processes in our lives that take way longer than they should, or it's why is this 12 steps? I don't understand. And I think this is where this industry is looking at those types of problems and saying there has to be a better way to do this, to the problem solving point. And it's how do we cut down on the intermittent in the the friction in the process, but also how do we think about just what would be the best case scenario for how to use your money, and we're building towards that versus kind of backing into all of these based on antiquated systems. So that's what really excites me too. And just your stablecoin point made me think of that, of the utility around it and the benefit to the end consumer, I think is what's huge. And people might even not realize that they're experiencing this, but it would be really, really nice if you can, I know Venmo has this, but like truly on the back end, being able to have access to funds or cash instantly, which is obviously something you can do on chain.
Yeah, and I really like the way that, I feel like a lot of institutional, folks, they don't really think of the retail side as much, but you guys are really plugged in on that side.
Yes.
And I think that is actually the huge unlock. And basically what you were saying, just simplifying the user experience, making it very easy for them. They don't even need to know that they're transacting on the blockchain. All of that, complexity is abstracted away from the user, and all they're doing is very intent-based actions.
Yes.
They want something, then they get it. But you guys, and I guess us too, under the hood, we're just handling all the settlements, all the transactions
Yes.
and whatnot. So yeah, I do think what you guys are building is pretty innovative from the retail side.
And I think from a retail perspective too, to my point earlier about standardization, this is where now everyone has access to their phone. Every app looks like another app.
Right.
Under the hood, there might be different operations or depending on what tech you're using. But a great example is our gold token settles in less than 30 seconds. Truly settles. Trades 24/7, 365, settles in less than 30 seconds. It's just a great example of, it just is going to feel right. Of course, we're in a generation of we want everything right now.
Yeah.
So of course it should settle in less than 30
Right.
seconds. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Why would this take T+1 or
Yeah.
even longer? And our money market fund is T+0 for that purpose too. Of how do you start to really push the envelope to get down the line to an autonomous settlement land, which hopefully we'll get to over time. And I just think that's where you're going to really see the benefits, because time is money, as we all know.
Yeah.
I actually saw this thing about the spending card, and I thought this is super relatable. It's something I go through. It's when I want to, I get my paycheck.
Yes.
I want to put it into maybe something to earn some yield. So I have
Yes.
to transfer it over to my brokerage. I have to
Yep.
buy, some T-bill fund or whatever thing, and then I
Yes.
have to make sure I transfer stuff back to pay my credit card bills,
Exactly,
right? So it
exactly.
sounds like you do it all at once. Right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
think about all those steps, or think about all the accounts that you have. You got a checking account, checking account, savings account, your credit card, your brokerage account, all in one. So it's saving, spending, and investing. And I think that's the big part too for the money market fund. Why aren't you earning yield on your cash that's just sitting there? It's pretty much dead cash.
Yeah.
So it's that focus though on the end customer benefit that is really important to us. It's a better investing experience than what you've got today. It's that simple.
Yeah, 100%. And is that do you find that's sort of changing the ways people think about personal finance? I mean, is it also part of the vision to think
Absolutely.
about that?
It's absolutely part of the vision. And I will say too, though, it's so interesting, especially we're all in the industry. So for us, we think money market funds, yield, of course, no brainer.
Yeah.
But then I talk to my family and friends and I actually explain, well, how much interest are you getting in your checking account? And they're like, I have no idea. What?
Yeah.
And then you say, well, but you could invest in these other products. And I think there is an educational opportunity too to bring more people into the fold. And this was my point before about mainstream adoption, to say there is something better out there. It's really easy. It's just more money in your pocket. It doesn't have to be more complex than that. It's just more money in your pocket. So definitely part of the ethos too. And WisdomTree as a whole, we're all about the democratization of finance, whether it's in ETFs, whether it's now in digital assets. It's all about providing the best investments and asset classes in the best possible wrapper to as many investors as we can, because we believe that that's an important mission and important for someone to provide that in a regulated, safe, compliant way, of course. So I think that this is another example of that pillar of it's just a better way to invest.
Yeah, that's super cool. I mean, I think you guys have been around for quite a long time. You mentioned the 4-year history you had just, in the blockchain space, but, you've been around for a tremendous amount of time as an asset manager. What drove you guys to push into blockchain? You've been embracing a lot over the years. How's the culture, shaped that?
Oh, sure. Well, and this goes to my story before about our CEO and founder. It's really, really important support from the top down. So that's really critical and important. And I would also say, too, from a culture perspective, though, we're innovators. So so it's very, very much part of our fabric. And this is a new way, again, to provide a utility and a benefit to a new customer base for us. So, historically, very focused on the wealth management space. Now through WisdomTree Prime and WisdomTree Connect, we're going direct to retail, we're going to institutional clients, and being able to really add value too. And of course, we do this with our ETF business as well, but really being able to add value in a new way through new technology. So it's absolutely part of our fabric and our ethos. And now, as a first mover in this too, it's really exciting to be at the point of we're in production, we're being able to get out there and move from that proof of concept type of phase to being able to deliver these benefits to customers and hearing the feedback. And that's the best part about my job, is hearing the feedback, where someone says, I couldn't believe that I could save how much money, or that I didn't realize that this process on the institutional side takes 48 hours and I was losing so much time. I need an operations person. It was really cumbersome. And to say, now this is so simple and this takes me 5 minutes, that's music to my ears. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Yeah. And I guess while we're on this topic, can you actually tell us a little bit more about WisdomTree Prime and connecting the differences?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I think this is also where they are two different platforms.
Right.
So WisdomTree Prime is our retail platform. So this is available in 45 states, so 80% of the US. And this is this combination of saving, spending, and investing. So you download a mobile app and you get access. Unbeknownst to you, it's on the blockchain, but it's just a really sleek, easy way to invest in broad bases of exposures. So we have 13, we call them digital funds, but they're tokenized funds, ranging from a money market fund, which we talked about a little bit, other fixed income products, so other bond types of products, equities, asset allocation models, meaning like a 60-40. So you can just one click and buy a diverse portfolio that we're managing across different risk spectrums. So again, just trying to make it an easy way that you don't have to think about it, but you're still investing in something that's safe and secure, as well as Bitcoin, Ether, gold I mentioned before, and we have a stable coin. So it really has a really broad offering, but not overwhelming, where if there's other platforms that you go on and there's 3,000 investment products to pick from, and it can be really overwhelming, even if you're in the industry, because we all do have day jobs too. And so we're really focused on a curated experience. So that's the big one with WisdomTree Prime, and connecting that debit card has also been really huge. So enabling you to invest in a money market fund, earn yield on that until the moment of point of sale, meaning you're swiping your card and buying your cup of coffee. It's just giving you the extra few more dollars a month to save, and we're going to look to expand to other assets over time too that you can spend off of, which is pretty cool. So that's WisdomTree Prime. Download it, check it out, leave us a review, tell us how you think of it. Total shell for it. And then WisdomTree Connect is the institutional version, where, so talking about a problem, so with WisdomTree Prime, it was all about how do we combine saving, spending, and investing, and how do we solve this problem of dead cash sitting in a checking account. So pretty much, how can we reinvent the checking account? That was WisdomTree Prime's idea. With WisdomTree Connect, we launched WisdomTree Prime, and we had institutions coming to us saying, well, where do we sign up? We would love to. This sounds great. We want access to these tokenized products. And we built this platform that is much more focused on meeting our clients where they are. So with WisdomTree Prime, retail clients, investors, they're on their phones. Institutional clients, they're going to be on chain, to your point. These are mostly crypto native organizations and firms. And so that platform is ERC20 tokens. So you can go on board with us, and into your own wallet, you get an ERC20 token. So it's not custodial, it's your own self-custodied or third-party custodian. And we're really excited about this too, from beyond just the functionality of it being T+0, but it's our first endeavor to bring these tokenized products on-chain, outside of our own ecosystem, and into the wallets of our clients. So we're really, really excited about what that could mean for stablecoin issuers, for DAO treasuries, and for hedge funds over time.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I guess, with all the initiatives you guys have going on, what's next? What's exciting? I know you talked about Prime, Connect, but what's the main focus for you guys over the next 2 quarters?
Sure, yeah, so absolutely. So both obviously Prime and also and Connect are major focuses for the firm overall, but really over the next year or even 6 months, we're going to be focused on bringing new functionality. So we've learned so much now. We're really focused on continuing to improve what we have. So that might be different asset classes, expanding functionalities. I mentioned before of assets to spend off of for Prime, but even for Connect, adding more products to the platform. So we're really excited about just continuing to offer more services. And also the big thing for us is, and this is a lot of what Vin and I do, is that we'll be talking to people and we say, but what don't we have? What should we have? What's something that new, different that we should be thinking about and building? So I'm sure there'll be something else that comes down the line too from that. But that's really our focus about providing. Tokenization isn't just an idea anymore. We're not in the proof of concept phase anymore. We are actually putting product into production. We actually have platforms that can help solve problems. So we're just going to continue to solve more problems for our clients. And that's going to mean a lot of different things.
Oh, that's awesome. And I guess kind of random question, but like, what's maybe like one of the more exciting products that might be added into Prime that you guys have been looking at?
Okay, so what I will say is,
if you can share, yeah.
Yes, I can't talk about new things that have not been filed or launched yet. But I would say for us, something, and we're gonna have a geek out moment right now. But for Connect, we have a ERC 721, so a soulbound NFT that we send to all of the wallets that onboard with us, and it's their identity marker. So instead of a whitelist, we went this way. I just think it's a really cool, innovative way because it enables peer-to-peer transfers where you can hold our money market fund and then can do a trade for Bitcoin amongst each other, and you don't have to come back to a WisdomTree. So while in traditional days you have to come back to the selling broker or the platform to make these types of trades, now you can actually trade amongst yourself. So to your point about getting to DeFi, that's really what this is about, is that building markets amongst a community versus having a centralized authority. So the fact that we've been able to do that with we're tracking who owns our products, but to be able to do that, I think is really cool and innovative, and is getting us. It's not perfect, but it's getting us closer to that goal of truly DeFi. So that's what is in market right now and really excites me. And we're going to continue to build off of this idea around identity and what that looks like for our clients that I think is going to be pretty cool. What about you guys? What are you thinking about?
That makes a lot of sense. Like the way we think about, so we're a permissionless chain, but we have a lot of the compliance architecture needed for like more of our institutional type partners. And that's kind of how we think about KYC. Kind of like, if you come to Plume, you KYC once, you receive the soulbound token, and then you know who you can trade with, and which counterparts have been KYC'd or KYB'd. So I think that that concept makes a lot of sense. But I think for us, there's a lot of exciting things. I think one trend that we're seeing that's pretty exciting actually is kind of how we're seeing a lot of new protocols come onto the scene that aren't really tokenizing like physical assets, but they're more so tokenizing different data sets and bringing on these data sets so that people can trade these, I guess, quote unquote assets with like leverage. So to give you an example, it's more of like a synthetics type protocol where like you can take a 30x level on like Pokemon cards, for example, or Forex or commodities. We have a team that's letting you speculate on sports cards. There's another team where you can like long short different politicians. It's a very interesting concept, and I think that's what excites me the most about what we're building. I think in the traditional sense, everyone just thinks of, when they think of RWAs, they just think of like private credit or like treasuries. But there's a huge component of RWAs that I think a lot of people haven't really paid attention to until we started really talking about more of the DeFi element and coming at the RWA space from a more crypto native approach. And I think now it's exciting to see because our messaging is being picked up by different partners, the on-chain audience, and even like, we ran an 8-week long testnet, and we had around like 280 million transactions, 18 million wallets, 4 million of them were unique, and we had we had like 24 of our ecosystem protocols participate. So I think for us, it's just exciting to see this vision kind of become a reality, like what you guys have been building as well in the Arbitrum team. And yeah, it's great to see, and I think the space is definitely poised for a lot of growth in the next 12 months, in my opinion. But yeah, what about you guys actually at Arbitrum?
Yeah, no, at Arbitrum, we're just here to support, I think, teams on their mission, right? It's all about building the technology and infrastructure that allows you to, say, spin up your own roll-up, right? What you guys are doing is being able to tap into Arbitrum Orbit, to have a chain, and to utilize tech stack that's been established, that's mature, and that's a really good developer experience to build on. For other types of people who want to tap into the Arbitrum One blockchain that's already been built out, that optimistic roll-up, that's more you're tapping into ecosystem there, a strong ecosystem. We have partners doing that. Tokenized assets has been on the rise, and we've been very, very, interested in working with them. So we see money market funds on Arbitrum, we see real estate on Arbitrum, but yeah, I think the core thing for us is just making sure that the technology continues to expand. All these things that we have to deal with blockchain, as we decentralize, there's a path to that that's both, I would say, something that makes you guys comfortable with, but that also works. Fraud proofs being among that, permissionless validation. These are all things that we're super focused on. And the latest thing we're really excited about is being able to utilize something called Stylus, which is like our EVM++, being able to code in languages other than Solidity, because Ethereum has always been EVM, but we've been able to tap into something that's really native to us, that's unique, and allow people to use Rust, C++, and other different coding languages. So that's what our core ethos and what we like to function with. And it's comes from the top down. We have very strong leadership, Steven at the helm, and co-founders like Ed and Harry who are doing amazing stuff.
Tokenized money market assets are on the rise. We've been seeing a lot more of them. And we wanted to understand, why did you guys decide to do that? What kind of blockchain efficiencies have you been able to tap into? Maybe less reliance on a service provider or anything like that you've seen?
Sure. And I touched on this before, you made this point too about on-chain yields, and I do think that also from a safety and security perspective, the community and the ecosystem was looking for alternatives that they could invest in and know who their counterparty is, be safeguarded. Our money market fund is it's something called a Rule 2A7. It just pretty much means that there's a risk management program to it. It's very, very safe and secure. But specifically for blockchain, what is amazing about what we're able to do is that it's T+0 settlement, meaning that if you submit your order by noon, you get your tokens that same day. So that actually really does cut down on the timing. So instead of having to wait a day, wait 48 hours, and the big thing too is being able to accept, and it's through our stablecoin conversion service, but we can accept USDC as a form of payment, so it doesn't have to be fiat. So again, it eliminates, especially for the on-chain community, having to sell out of whatever it is and then go into fiat and then purchase it, because a lot of others you do have to still purchase through fiat or USD. So for us, it was not only internally where there's efficiencies, but we delivered all of those back to our end customers to say, how can we make a better product for you? So it's timing, of course, and being able to get your shares or your tokens day of. And it's also, again, meeting our clients where they are, which is they're on chain. They're using stable coins like USDC. It's enabling them to purchase and not have to, again, go out of their way, frankly, just making it a much more easy process for what they already have in their wallet to make these purchases. So I think those are the real main ones. Still, we have underlying treasuries. A question I was asked is always, when is it going to be primary market issuance? It's like, well, when the U.S. government starts tokenizing treasuries, I'm in. It's going to be great. It'll happen. But there's obviously still going to be that off-chain component. But I think